Welcome back, everyone. Ready for another deep dive?
Always. What are we digging into today?
This one's juicy. We're tackling the Abilene Paradox. Ever
I
heard?
know, absolutely. Classic case of groupthink gone wrong.
Exactly. And for those following our Allan Smithee deep dives, this one's particularly relevant. Besides his whole genetic predisposition, this paradox, it's foundational to how he operates. We've done a bunch of podcasts on him, his cases, and this explains so much about his methods.
You're right, it's like Detective 101, understanding why groups make decisions no one actually wants. Allan's got that sixth sense for sniffing it out.
It's wild, this silent agreement to mess things up. And speaking of messing up, the best way to understand this paradox, the story behind it, classic.
Oh, you mean the Texas trip? Everyone's favorite cautionary tale.
Exactly. Picture it. Sweltering summer day in Coleman, Texas. Families beating the heat on the porch, lemonade, dominoes, the works.
And then someone utters those fateful words, Abilene for lunch.
Abilene. But here's the kicker. No one actually wants to go. It's hotter than blazes, long drive, and honestly, Abilene's not exactly known for its Michelin star diners.
And here's where the paradox rears its head. They all think everyone else wants to go. Doubts. Swallowed up.
So, hours later, they're back home. Sweaty, tired, full of regret, and probably lukewarm cafeteria food.
The Abilene Paradox in all its glory. This collective agreement to do something no one actually wanted. And it happens all the time. Families, work, even governments.
It's like we're hardwired for it, going along to get along, even when we're not truly on the same page. A recipe for disaster. What's amazing is how this story, it boils down to these predictable steps.
Absolutely. Researchers have nailed down 6 key signs a group's headed for an Abilene Paradox. It's uncanny.
6 signs. Okay, that's helpful. Hit us with number 1. What's the first red flag?
First, deep down, everyone agrees on the current situation. In our Texas saga, they all secretly agree that chilling on the porch is the best move.
Comfy chairs, cool drinks. Who needs a dusty old car ride? Makes sense to me. Okay, so what's next? Sign number 2. That we're on that Abilene highway.
Each person has an idea about the best solution, but they keep it bottled up. They just assume, often wrongly, that everyone else is on board with whatever's been suggested.
So like our Texan travelers assuming everyone's craving a lukewarm cafeteria lunch.
Precisely. Those unspoken assumptions can be deadly.
So silence isn't so golden in these situations. Got it. Okay, unspoken agreement, private solutions. What tips the scales? What's sign number 3?
And bam, that failure to communicate birks a decision no one wants. Our Texas family, stuck on that long, hot drive for a meal they'll forget 5 minutes later.
Talk about recipe for indigestion. Okay, so we're all sleepwalking into bad decisions. What happens after the damage is done? Sign number 4.
Oh, you know this one. Frustration, anger, finger-pointing, the whole shebang. Everyone's back home, and it's all, well, you wanted to go to Abilene.
The blame game. Classic. You know what's crazy? We do this over and over again.
Crazy. It's the next sign. Number 5, this cycle. It's got us on repeat. See, without knowing why it happened, the pattern, we're doomed. Back to Abilene we go.
Stuck in a loop, driving to Abilene every Sunday. So how do we break free? Last signpost on the Abilene Highway, what is it?
This one's key, the Abilene Paradox. It loves a good, stifled environment, where open communication, healthy dissent, that's all choked out. It feeds on those assumptions about what others are thinking. And that's why someone like Allan Smithee, dedicated to truth-seeking, finds this whole thing so fascinating.
It's like his spidey sense, right? He walks into a room and boom! Can just tell when a group's tangled up in this web of unspoken disagreement.
Spot on. For Allan, recognizing those signs, it's essential. Lets him dig deeper, ask the right questions, uncover those hidden agendas.
After reading the group, finding the truth. But this isn't just for detectives, right? This is about all of us making better choices in every part of our lives.
100%. This isn't some abstract theory. It's about giving us the tools to handle those tricky group situations, to make sure the decisions we make actually line up with what we want.
No more accidental Abilene trips. Okay, so we've covered the what and the why of this paradox. But what about the how? How do we actually escape this cycle of messed up agreements? What's the secret sauce to avoid that metaphorical drive to Abilene?
The secret sauce. It's all about fostering open communication, building that psychological safety within groups. Because here's the thing, this paradox, it thrives on fear. Fear of conflict, of standing out, of making waves.
It's like we trade our own voice for some fake harmony, right? Convince ourselves it's better to just go along than rock the boat.
Exactly. So we need tools, strategies to fight those fears head on. One that's really powerful, the left-hand, right-hand column exercise.
Ooh, I'm a sucker for a good exercise. How's that one work?
Simple, but man, is it effective. Draw a line down a piece of paper. Right. Left side, you write your honest thoughts, feelings during a meeting, whatever. Right side, you write down what you actually said. This little reflection, it can be eye-opening.
Like holding up a mirror to your own brain. You see those moments where you held back, where you censored yourself?
Bingo! And once you see that gap, you got to ask yourself, why? Why am I not speaking up? What am I scared of?
Right. It's about understanding those hidden assumptions, those fears that keep us quiet. Self-awareness. Key takeaway.
Yeah.
But what about actually interacting with the group? How do we make sure everyone feels safe sharing their true thoughts, perspectives, all that?
That's where balancing advocacy with inquiry comes in. Finding that sweet spot between confidently expressing your own view, but also truly trying to understand where everyone else is coming from.
So not one or the other. Got to do both. Assertive A&D, open-minded. Love it. Okay, other tools for our Abilene busting toolkit. What else we got?
We can't forget about those assumptions we talked about. Everyone makes them, but we rarely hit the brakes and question them. And that's where the ladder of inference comes in clutch.
The ladder of inference. Okay, I'm listening. What's that, and how's it help us avoid these communication traps?
It's a model that shows how quickly we jump to conclusions with only a sliver of information. Remember our Abilene crew? Imagine that son-in-law stuck on the porch. He hears Abilene for lunch, and his first thought, ugh, not that place. The food's atrocious.
Already picturing those sad, lukewarm mashed potatoes. The regret is real.
Exactly. But instead of saying something, he looks around, sees what he thinks are eager smiles, nods, the works. He's climbing that ladder of inference, assuming he knows what others are thinking. Tells himself everyone else must love bland cafeteria food. So he stays quiet.
Trapped in his own head.
Yeah.
Those assumptions run in the show.
Exactly. Now imagine if he took one step back down that ladder and simply said, hey, is everyone cool with driving to Abilene? Just want to make sure we're all on the same page.
Wow. So simple. But could change the whole afternoon. Okay, this is fantastic stuff. But I feel like there's one piece missing. We've got tools, techniques, but what about the overall approach to communication? What's the vibe?
That missing piece. The power of real dialogue.
Okay, so not just talking, but dialogue. What's the difference?
Dialogue here. It's about making space, where open-ended exploration that's valued over just reaching a decision. It's about understanding the issue from all sides, airing out those assumptions, working towards a shared understanding. Like, think of it like jazz improvisation. You're riffing off each other, building on ideas, but there's no set score.
I love that. Highlights that dialogue isn't about winning or being right. It's about discovering something together.
Exactly. And remember how we talked about Allan Smithee using this in his work? Imagine him with these tools. The left-hand, right-hand column, balancing advocacy with inquiry, the ladder of inference, and this whole dialogue thing to crack those tough cases.
He's like a group whisperer, uncovering those hidden truths. So we've got our Abilene dodging toolkit. But how do we know it's working? What's success look like here?
Great question. It's not just about the what, it's about the how. Did everyone feel heard? Were different opinions actually explored respectfully? Was there that genuine shared understanding? Even if the final decision maybe wasn't everyone's favorite. That's what it looks like when a group's mastered this whole managing agreement thing.
So not always agreeing, but creating a space where disagreeing actually leads to deeper understanding and maybe even better decisions.
Nailed it. Shifting from that go along and get along to speak up to move forward. And that's something we can all do, whether we're leading a team, in a meeting, or just trying to survive a family dinner without ending up at the Abilene Olive Garden, right?
100%. Well, we covered a lot today about the Abilene Paradox, from those psychological roots to actually avoiding it. But the real work, it starts now, out in the wild.
You got it. Next time you're nodding along, but your gut's screaming, turn this car around. Remember the Abilene Paradox. You can speak up, ask those clarifying questions, make sure the decisions you're making actually line up with your values, goals, all that good stuff.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Until next time, keep those questions coming, challenge those assumptions, and as always, keep diving deep.